This is Dr. Barbara Young. I am so excited. Welcome to God's Hookups television show. You know, as Christians, we often talk about experiencing God directly in our lives. But what about other people's genuine experiences of God in ways that they cannot explain and in some cases not even share? Have there been experiences in your lives that you could only explain that there was a divine connection or an intervention? Well, this show features up close and personal interviews with men and women from all walks of life. I am so excited because they're going to share their stories about unexplainable blessings, extraordinary miracles, and encounters that can only be attributable to God's hookups. I invite you to share with your friends, have them come and watch this show because for every Friday we are here at 11:30 a.m. We have interviews at 1:30 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. So today I am so pleased, absolutely, to have my guest today, Dr. Carol Soloway. She's an absolutely wonderful friend. She's a licensed chiropractor. She's a qualified medical examiner, and she's also the Woman of Achievement for the International Association of Women. I'm so excited to have her here. And not only that, but she's an author of not one book, but 3 best-selling books. And in the words of Les Brown, Carol Soloway is a dynamic storyteller with a unique gift for influencing the hearts and minds of audiences around the globe. So welcome, Carol. It's delighted to have you on the show today. I'm excited. My goodness. It took me a long time to get you on this show, but I'm happy to have you. So Carol, you've had so many experiences, let me tell you, with all of your God's hookups. I mean, you're the successful woman chiropractor. I mean, you're the international woman of, the woman of achievement for IEW. You've done so many things, incredible things. And I'm so happy you're my friend. And so would you share with the viewers today your God's hookup stories? Maybe you got one, maybe you got 2.
I'll give them to you. Well, Dr. Barbara, you know how easy marriage is.
Yes.
So easy.
Yeah.
All you have
Right.
All you have to do is cook like Julia Childs, have the patience of Mother Teresa with your children, and be a sex goddess. It's easy. And I was good. But then one day, my husband came home and told me he was leaving. Every shirt, every tie was confirmation that I had failed. But he said, don't worry, the children will be safe. The children will be cared for. Everything was going to be, as child custody while they're living with me. And I went to an attorney, but the attorney wanted to charge $2,000. That was ridiculous. So because I had no money, nothing in my name. We got married a long time ago, and that was the way I had a $10,000 student loan. That was all mine. And so, but if my children were taken care of, we were going to be fine. And he even gave me the mortgaged house so the kids were provided for. One night, several months later, my children came home. And they're talking about their father's new house and his swimming pool and even the little dog. And then they said it. They said they were going to live with him. Every Lego set was confirmation that I had totally failed in life. I was devastated. When that door slammed, I walked from empty room to empty room the house wasn't that big, but it sounds more dramatic, right? And I sat in that big white chair in the family room, and I looked at the clock, 11:15. Thought about ending it. There was no reason to go on. And then somehow, some way, I thought about a wedding I'd gone to. I don't know why that came into my head. You know, you talk about God's hookup. Why did I think about this wedding? The bride was gorgeous. The groom was handsome. When they said I do, doves flew overhead. A dove just like on your screen. And then I heard they had a baby. Then I heard they got a divorce and the dad got custody of the little girl. Well, I saw the father and that beautiful bride. I saw that father and that little girl, rather, at the funeral of that beautiful bride. That beautiful bride who had given up. And I decided I couldn't do that to my children. I thought of their face. Why do we think of those things? A wedding of all times, at all times. And then I realized, you know, we can be the victim of our history, or we can be the victor of a new story. And I was going to make a new story. You know, during World War II, it's amazing that the artists painted, because they didn't have canvases. They didn't have enough canvases. They were willing to paint over their canvases. And I decided I was going to do that. What was I going to do? Just graduated from chiropractic college. So I decided I'd open a practice. I marched into the bank like, you know, I was the Mrs. Doctor because my former husband was a doctor. They laughed at me. No way. So I did what each and every one of your listeners has to do or did. I believed in myself. I sold that house and I had enough for 4 months. 4 months. You know how, 40% of businesses fail in the first year? I had 4 months. And I did it because I had one thing, and I don't know where it came from. It came from God. It came from a miracle. I had drive, unshakable drive. And with that, I slept in the office nights because I went to meetings. And suddenly my practice was booming. It was amazing. I was treating stars, Marie Osmond, the Rockettes. I was an expert on Judge Judy. I had a beautiful house in Laguna Beach. But you know what? I had a house, not a home. I had money, no meaning. And I decided when I had melanoma a couple of times, I decided I had to do something to help women who've let other people tell them that they weren't good enough, tell them they weren't smart enough, tell them they weren't enough. And I decided that I would do something. And that's what each and every one of you has to do. Something, maybe one thing, to help others and to take your unshakable drive, your moment, your 11:15 moment when you didn't think you could go on, and use it to help others. Now, what was I going to do? It's an English major. I decided I'd write. And I started writing about stories about women, this story about a woman who loses custody of her children. Not my story, but a story. And women started writing to me. They started telling me how they believed in themselves. And that's what we have to do. We have to go and help other people. Because when we have a God hookup, an 11:15 moment, when we're going to end it all, think about why we're here and what we have to give.
That was marvelous, marvelous, Dr. Holloway, and how you emerged victorious out of a situation that could have been just the opposite. And I really want to thank you for sharing. You've had so many hookups. That's not the only one. And wait, I call it hookups and hiccups. So, so you want to share another Hookup, because I know you have another one. And my listeners out there, viewers, you need to hear this woman because I tell you, she's incredible. So there's another story I believe you shared with me. So if you want to share that, and then I want to talk about how you came up with writing the book, the first book, and then that just sort of evolved. But Carol, I mean, you're a chiropractor, qualified medical examiner. You're involved in all these activities. Where did you find time to try to write a book? Was there a God hookup story in that? Mm-hmm.
Well, the of course the those three children that I lost custody of. I'm very close to them. And when my youngest started telling me that he was involved in this child rescue where they go in and rescue children and rehabilitate them who've been trafficked, I said, well, I'll write a book and we'll use it as a what do you call it, a charity rate, a fundraising. Well, I wrote the book Gracie's Gone, and just the other day I heard that my agent is packaging it for Hallmark. So we will do, this is where I go back to doing good in the world. I just wrote it, I mean, to get some funds for child rescue. I didn't know we were going to get funds if it sells, or when it sells rather. So that's, and we also wonder why we're here.
Yes.
And when I had my ticket, which I keep in my drawer, for 9/11, the afternoon of 9/11, from JFK to LAX, keep it in my drawer all the time, because I said, there is a reason that by some miracle I was spared. And, when that happens, you've got to use your time wisely because you're spared for a reason. And the reason better be good.
Well, tell me.
And
Go ahead, Carol.
the reason is that I wrote a book with my then 5-year-old granddaughter. And we wrote this book a year ago. Now think about what's going on in the world. We wrote the book a year ago. She and I, we were sitting and making jokes about the circus, which you'd never been to. And we wrote this book about a little white girl who calls her black friend and asks him for help because she's afraid of speaking. And he teaches her or tells her how she has to believe in herself, in her greatness. And we wrote that book without even thinking about it's a black girl and a white girl and a black, nothing. And we wrote that book about a world where children are colorblind. And that's what we need for today. And so my new mission is to inspire children and to get them to read and to get them to realize we're all the same.
Well, Carol, there's no better opportunity than today, and looking at the challenging times that we're going through, and that people are looking for books and looking for ways to entertain children and to help them navigate as well as their parents through this. So I know your book has been a boon to so many, many people. And I just want to applaud you for the work that you're doing and that you continue to do that work, writing children's books. And I understand that Les Brown, who wrote a foreword in your book, is now going to help you with writing another book. And so a children's book. And so he's very intrigued by the book that you wrote. So I just want to share with the listeners out there and my viewers, because there are some people who actually listen to the show and we're recording and we're live. But the fact is that you can be a person on this show to talk about your God's hookup. And you can contact me at drb@godshookups.com. Love to have you share your story. We have so many people who are coming on with their stories of success. We have a show coming on at 1:30 with another young woman who's going to share her story of absolute success. But her God's hookup moment, that was almost a tragedy. So stay tuned because I want you to continue to hear our stories, incredible stories that define human explanation, that definitely there's a God hookup. And Carol, I want to thank you for sharing your story today, which was incredible to give people courage that they too can become successful and can overcome any obstacle, but with a God hookup. So, Carol, is there any last thing that you'd like to say, Carol?
Sure. I'd like to say that every loving parent needs to read their child
the surprise
tonight.
Yes.
The Surprise Circus.
Okay.
Because that was my God's hookup, and that's going to be theirs.
We want to thank you so much. And I want to say to my listeners out there, God bless all of you. This is going to be a great week. Hope you have a blessed weekend. And remember, God is still in the hookup business. So thank you so much for listening today and viewing today. I should say I'm on radio half the time, so I keep saying I'm listening. But to my viewers out there, thank you so much for tuning in today. We'll see you at the 1:30 show. We also have one at 2:30. So thank you, Dr. Carol. Thank you again. God bless all of you. And I'll see you next week. All right. Great. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.